Emergent property. A property of some complex whole which cannot be explained in terms of the properties of the parts. In December 1995, David Jacobson was shortlisted in a competition for a sculpture in Hong Kong. In November 96, the sculpture was installed on the site and ready for the official opening of the buildings. The two buildings that make up the site were opened by Her Royal Highness Princess Anne on January the 30th, 1997. The buildings, the British Consulate General and the British Council Hong Kong, were designed by Terry Farrell and Partners. The client for this commission was the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, Overseas Estate Department. But Jacobson saw this commission as having two clients, the Foreign Office and the architect. The site for the sculpture was the reflecting pool, a shallow pool of water in front of a 30-metre-long wall of varying height which curved around the pool. This was a retaining wall which held back a landscaped hillside, the garden. In effect, the sculpture would join two buildings, the political and cultural halves that will represent Great Britain and the United Kingdom after the handover to China of Hong Kong in June 1997. This is a significant and sensitive political moment. There were certain strictures in the brief which had to be considered and included in the designs of the shortlisted artists. Of paramount importance was the consideration of Feng Shui, a 3,000-year-old Chinese form of geomancy, a religion taken extremely seriously and for which examples of previous disasters in buildings in Hong Kong were included with the instructions. The two characters of Feng and Shui signify wind and water, and an extremely simplistic explanation for the use of Feng Shui will be the observation of the environment and how interfering with it or not considering the landscape when building on it can result in unforeseen calamities. But this was to be a sculpture that a Western artist was making for an Eastern environment. Jacobson's approach was to combine both traditions and attempt to synthesize the political relevance of the handover with the demands of Feng Shui.
I saw the wall like a backdrop and the pool as a stage. I wanted to use a group of different or individual sculptures in the installation, like characters or actors in the drama of the handover. Feng Shui uses the Lopan compass, which reads from the south rather than the north. The points of the compass are represented symbolically by the tortoise in the north, the dragon, the most significant symbol in the east, the bird in the south, and the tiger in the west. The square represents the earth, and the circle represents heaven. These positions and animals also have a color reference: black in the north, green in the east, red in the south, and white in the west. I did not want to pretend that I was in any way an expert in the application of Feng Shui, but wanted to use the little I had begun to understand by reading, and with the help of Harrison King, a shaman from the Shen Dao Institute. The sculptures include 5 elements: wood, fire, metal, earth, and water, with the use of the 8 trigrams whose unbroken lines represent the yang and whose broken lines represent the yin. This combination represents the 40,320 permutations of the I Ching, and I use these as additions to my own language of sculpture, of form, space, and shape. Bengali red, Zimbabwean black, American fleck white, green Gloria from India, and blue Macabo from Brazil as an added color. All these granites, along with water, to make 5 distinct sculptures that would use the wall to join the buildings, much as I hoped the two different political and cultural systems could be joined harmoniously.
The granite was bought in Pietrasanta, Italy, and brought to London, where it was carved by David and his assistant, a master mason and friend from Switzerland, Kurt Schwager. The sculptures were too large to be assembled and tested in London, and the system of installation was to be determined only once the completed sections arrived on site in Hong Kong.
Can't say this is my preferred method of installing work. I sent instructions and a list of requirements, but these were ignored by the site manager, who was adamant that with the help of 6 local labourers we could whip the work up in a couple of days. After a few disastrous and nerve-wracking days attempting to install the sculpture, using lift cable tied to a tree in the garden on which to attach inadequate block and tackle, and after the cracking of much bamboo and the interruption of a typhoon, I managed to persuade the site manager that it was necessary to supply a crane and fixed gantry to install the work. And I don't know what to say. I'm feeling really, really frustrated. I'm also feeling real happy because it's beginning to look much better. Well, it's just beginning to look wonderful. But my guys are here, and that's all that matters. This is more like it. We got them cutting and carving and chipping and everything else. It's a good wish for them to be doing. He's busy phoning up to check whether or not he's got his money.
It took 3 weeks to install Emergent property.